What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Jared Williams Show. Today, I got the Grass Cowboy on.
That's right.
What's up, man? How are you doing?
Not much. Tired.
I heard you shoveled a lot of rock.
3,000 pounds.
So how long does that take you to shovel 3,000 pounds of rock?
Well, like I said, I was using the dump trailer. So it took by the time if you include pickup and everything, it took 3 hours.
That's not bad.
But the actual just physical act of shoveling it, hour and a half. I think even in my price book, which I just redid, I have it set to for every ton of rock installation, it's 1 hour built in.
Cool, man. So I want to hear your story because I don't even know your story.
Yeah.
But I'll tell everybody how I met you. This guy started mowing my yard. I moved to Pensacola, Florida, and we found you on an app.
Lawn starter.
Lawn starter?
Yep.
So my wife found you on an app.
Yeah.
And then eventually we got to talking and la-di-da. Here you are in my podcast studio.
Crazy.
Yeah, you don't mow my yard anymore because I moved.
Moved a bit out of my range.
I moved a little bit out of your range, but so I guess let's, high level, I know you mow lawns. You have a company called Grass Cowboys. You basically do lawn care and what do we call it? Light landscaping?
Yeah, so I call it softscaping.
Softscaping? Mm. Okay, I like that.
Well, because there's actually hardscaping, which is anything that involves pavers, concrete work, hard surface.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I usually say anything that involves softscaping, no trees.
No trees. Okay. So if you need a patio or your trees removed or planted,
we're not the guys.
You call somebody else?
Or irrigation.
Or irrigation. Okay.
Well, because those are all, except for hardscaping, that's just something I have no interest in getting into. Mm-hmm. But tree work and irrigation in the state of Florida, you need a totally separate license for.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so tell me your story. How'd you get to, where'd you grow up? How'd you get to the point where you have a lawn care business?
Oof. Where do we even start? Well, I was born.
Okay. That's a good start.
So I grew up and was raised in Texas,
mm-hmm.
all over the northern part. So think Dallas, Fort Worth, but even further north.
Okay.
Almost actually on the Oklahoma border. So in that area, it's called Texoma. And at least my last 2 years of high school, I was in a small town called Lindsay, and that was 5 miles from the border.
Okay.
But I grew up all over. So my dad is a high school football coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think on average, every 2 to 3 years we were moving.
Just to go to a different high school to coach?
Oh, no. I'm talking from the time I was born all the way through high school.
What do you mean, why?
Changing schools.
For your dad?
Mm-hmm.
To coach different teams?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I would say it's probably more common than you think. At least it was for us.
Huh. So you're moving around the country.
We're moving around North Texas.
You're moving around North Texas. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I did. When I, one of the reasons I'm here, when I was really young, I don't remember the age, maybe 10 or something. My mom, me and my sister, we moved to Destin for a year.
Okay.
My parents had split by this point.
Gotcha.
But so she moved us to Destin for a year because her sister was living here, so we had some family there. But moved there, we're there for a year, and then moved back to Texas. And went to middle school, which it's 7th and 8th grade there.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a school in Keller, which is right in the Fort Worth area.
Gotcha.
And then in high school, my freshman, sophomore year, I moved up north about an hour to a small town called Nakona. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
So they're known for making baseball gloves. It's
Okay.
a real big cow town. There's a leather factory.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's what they're known for. But anyway, went there freshman, sophomore year, and then junior, senior, I went to Lindsay. That's where I graduated from.
Gotcha.
Was a really big athlete. I did 6 sports, I think.
Okay.
Not all at the same time.
Because your dad was did your dad coach you?
in football.
Gotcha.
So he did football, and then it was a small high school. I graduated with 40 kids.
Cool.
So it was natural to do all the sports. Football, basketball, tennis, baseball, golf, and track.
Gotcha.
And so he was a football coach. So he coached me in that, and then I think he did the golf team too.
Cool.
So we had that. But anyway, I think, well, after that I did run track in college, just to throw that out there.
Where'd you go to college?
Where didn't I go to college, man? So my freshman year of college, I went to a small university called Oklahoma Wesleyan, which is up in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. That is even further north. That's on the border of Oklahoma and Kansas. So I went there my first year, ran track. I did okay. So I was a sprinter, and this is weird talking about it because like 2 or 3 nights ago, I just happened to be looking at like that old college's website and found all my old records.
Oh, that's funny. Cool.
Yeah. So I was a sprinter for them. I didn't really like it. It was a really strict like Christian college, which is not a problem. But like for me, I was like, I just hit adulthood. I shouldn't have to be like in bed by midnight. But anyway, after that, I moved down to College Station and went to Blinn Junior College for 2 years. And that was a alcohol binge fest to the max. It was me and like all my high school buddies that I graduated with. We had one house on a street, and then like 2 streets over was another house just full of all our friends.
Nice.
So went down there like with hopes of getting into Texas A&M because that's where that is.
What's Texas A&M?
You serious?
I know nothing.
Oh, they're like one of. So I think
I literally live like with under a rock.
Texas A&M is like one of the biggest universities in the nation.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Both in like sports, but also I think technically if you Google it, they're like number 2 or number 3 for like student enrollment. It's huge. The campus is the size of like Pensacola.
Gotcha.
So I was hoping to go there, but like I said, I partied my way through those years.
Okay.
And so after that, transferred. So I'm on like year 4, by the way. I'm on like year 4 of college at this point.
Yep.
And I don't even have my associates.
Okay.
So I transferred to the University of North Texas after that, which is in Denton. Mm-hmm. Do you know who that is?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
It's all right, though.
So I
Got to stay hydrated.
got to drink a gallon a day.
Oh, yeah. You're doing 75 hard.
Yeah, so it's 3 of these. And believe it or not, I'm already on my 3rd. I'll probably drink 4 by the end of the day.
Cool. You're on day 11 of 75 hard.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part so far?
Honestly, the water's easy because I drink so much for work.
Yep.
I think it's the afternoon workouts. So with it, you're supposed to do 2 45-minute workouts, and one of them has to be outside.
Yep.
I don't know if this is cheating, but I count like work as my outside work.
That's cheating.
Workout.
You should,
I don't,
you should start over.
dude. There's no way. Like you go do what I did today and say, no, that wasn't your workout.
Yeah. I'm just messing with you, man.
But I do make sure to at least do the second 45-minute workout, which for me is lifting weights.
Gotcha.
And I'm telling you, man, like especially like after today, or like you mow like 8 lawns and you get home and I'm like, I don't want to lift.
Yeah.
I don't want to pick up a weight.
Yep.
But this is forcing me to, and I'm doing it more like to kind of reprogram my mentality, like my brain, to just be like, it's not an option, just do it.
Yeah.
Like because even on day 11, there's been at least 1 or 2 workouts where I'm like, I can't even lift a weight, but I'll go like I'm gonna do something.
Yeah.
And I just sit well, I have a home gym, so I'll sit in the garage for 45 minutes, and I'm like, I'm gonna do something.
Can you go? Does like walking count?
You can,
Yeah.
but this is like how my brain works. So for me, the outside workout is like my cardio. So if I count work, and I don't always, like over the weekends I don't work, so I'll go do like a 45-minute walk or a jog or something. Like last weekend we went and did the 5K downtown, the Navy Federal 5K.
Cool.
And that was like the outside workout for the day. But anyway, so in my mind, the outside is what I treat as like cardio, and then the second one is like weightlifting.
Gotcha.
Because I've always lifted weights since I was like 14.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dude, I've started lifting weights this last year. It's the hardest thing for me.
Did you not do it when you were like younger in high school
No.
and stuff? Did you play any sports?
No team sports. I thought they were
okay.
dumb. I still do. No offense if you love them, but I don't understand how grown men. So I take that back. I played baseball. My mother forced me to play baseball.
I played 1 year in high school and I'm no joke. I had braces and I took a fastball to the mouth.
Nice.
And I went to the orthodontist the next day, and he was like, the only reason you still have any teeth is because your braces were on.
Hey, you lucked out on that one, huh?
But I quit the next day
Yeah.
and didn't play again.
So I played baseball pretty much every summer until I was 14 because my mom was a big baseball fan, and I hated every second of it. All I wanted to do was go skateboard or go snowboard, and that's it.
I don't enjoy I won't say that I don't enjoy, but I've never gotten into stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like just ever. I was a big team.
See, I hated the team because,
But I like competition. I'm competitive as hell.
well, so I hate the team because they keep me from winning, is how I viewed it when I was a kid. Because I'm relying
That's
on
the wrong mentality.
Well, I understand that now as an adult, but relying on other team members, whereas skateboarding or snowboarding,
It's all by the sweat of your brow on that.
it was all about, I'm going to literally out practice you and I'll be better at it than all of my friends. And I probably didn't get there with skateboarding. I had some of my friends were really good at skateboarding. Snowboarding, I probably got fairly close, and I loved snowboarding.
I heard
It was
snowboarding's
fun.
harder because you have to steer, I think,
No
with
way.
your back leg. Is that
No,
right?
snowboarding I would say is easier.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I don't know. So.
Yeah. Skateboarding is super hard.
You know what? I didn't even hear about that. I just said it. So
Okay, right on. So you're doing 75 hard. You're going to college. You don't have your associates. What happens next?
So I decide after like my first semester at North Texas to drop out. Because at that point I really was just like, my mindset was, I think college is a scam.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not getting anything out of this. I don't even go to the class. All through college, I never went to class. I would only go on test days. I've always been a really good test taker. It doesn't matter the subject. If you give me like an ABCD test, I'll pass it. Because I'm just good at deducing what the answer is.
That's cool.
But that's not knowledge. That's
No.
just learning how to fill out a form
Yeah.
in my head. So anyway, I was just like, man, I'm like spending all this money and I'm not going to get anything out of this. I'm not getting anything out. So I dropped out and decided I already had a pretty good job while I was going to school and dropped out. They had a full-time position open and I was like, I'm just going to go work and make some money.
Yep.
But I guess because we wanted to go into it a little bit, I want to backtrack because I kind of want to go through all the jobs I've had just to show that like I consider myself a jack of all trades, but a master of absolutely nothing
Okay.
when it comes to my work history. So I got my first job when I was 14 as like a freshman in high school. And I was under the table being paid to water fairways at a golf course in Nakona.
Okay.
Sweet as like for a 14, 15-year-old kid, it was awesome.
Are you watering these by hand or what?
So I would show up at like 4 or 5 because you have to water them at night or in the evening. So I'd show up at like 4 or 5 in the evening. Everyone that actually worked there would be gone. I was by myself. And I would get a golf cart and load up the back with these sprinklers that are probably like yay big. And every golf course I'm sure is different, but this one, like literally all down the fairway, every like 50 yards or so, there'd be a tiny little hole. And so what I would do is I'd load up those sprinklers, like 12 of them or so, and a few clubs. And I'd go lay out the sprinklers on one hole. And all you had to do was just put them in and twist them, almost kind of like tapping a keg. And they'd start going off.
Oh, cool.
So I'd lay them out on one fairway. I'd go play the next hole.
Nice.
And then run. By the time I'd be done playing that hole, I'd run back, grab them, put them on the hole I just played. Anyway, I did that for, I don't know, like a year or so.
Cool.
So that was job number one.
So are you a good golfer?
No.
Okay.
And it's one of those games that like you love to hate and you hate to love.
I think.
Have you ever played?
Golf? Yeah, I played it a little bit when I was a kid because like all the pro snowboarders were playing golf in the off season. It was like the cool thing to do for a while.
It's fun to play. It's even more fun if you're drinking, but you like for me personally, because I'm not good, like by the end I'm like, I hate myself. I'm going home.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that was job number one. Sorry, I'm having to like recall all these in real time.
Dude, yeah.
I think the next job I had after that, I don't want to miss any, was when I was like 15. And so and these were summer jobs, like in between school and high school. So when I was 15, I had a job working with a guy who built fences in Texas. And I remember, I think like 3/4 of that summer was me building like a 10-mile long barbed wire fence.
Oh, dang.
Because that Nakona, again, it's like cow country. It's nothing but farms.
Yep.
And yeah, we were putting in something like a 10-mile barbed wire fence.
That's a long freaking fence.
It's a lot of T-posts to drive by hand.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
So I did that for a summer. And then, let's see. The summer after that, I worked actually, so I would have been at Lindsay at this point. I was 17 or something. I worked for our school during the summer, being like, there was no title for it, but just like a groundskeeper helper. Mm-hmm. So like, this is funny now because it's kind of full circle, but like I would mow the football field, mow the practice fields, mow the baseball fields. I think we like painted the bleachers. We repainted some of the schoolrooms. It was just like handyman work.
Cool.
Did that. And then my freshman year of college, when I was running track, my first like major was communications because I really thought I wanted to be in like marketing advertising, which is funny because that's now like my favorite part of the business.
Yep.
But I hated it at the time because I got a job at a radio station. It was like super part-time. I think I went in like maybe one day a week for just like a few hours. It was really more of an internship. But I'd go in for like a few hours once a week to like write commercials, script them, and then record them.
Oh, cool. You would actually record them? Mm-hmm. That's cool.
It was cool getting to mess with stuff. And you got to think this was like 2000, God, it sounds so long ago now, but that was like 2011. So like it was truly like switchboards. Well, they would let me work the switchboards for like local basketball games. So I'd run that sometimes. But yeah, like making the commercials, it was like a giant like DJ board type thing. So I'd record them, mix them up, and do all that. But I do remember, even back then, I'd get pretty like, I'd toe the line on what would be acceptable because they would let me write some of the scripts. And, you know, the way that radio station works is people would pay the radio station to come up with your ad and then just run it.
Yep.
And I remember I wrote at least one that I can remember that I came in the next week and the lady was like, "Did you write this?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of funny." And she goes, "They said no, rewrite it."
Bad idea for that customer.
Well,
They should have ran it.
I think you should run it for Dude Watch because it'd be kind of funny.
Well, if you write it for me, I'll run it. We're actually running some radio ads right now. I got a cheap radio spot. I bought some like credits from a guy for 25 cents on the dollar. So
Is it through like Cat Country?
no, it's sports radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Well, it was. So I'll tell you, it was. I don't remember like the exact words or anything, but the premise was it was for like this law firm, and the premise was like everyone that works at this firm are like not good people. You don't want these people around your kids. Don't invite them to cookouts, but they are good at the law and they will get you like off or acquitted or whatever.
Right, gotcha.
So that was kind of like the turning point. But kind of thinking about that, I was like, y'all could use that for Dude Watch because if you wanted to, you'd be like, these are the dirtiest guys. They're not clean. You don't want them around, but you'll have the cleanest house.
Gotcha.
They didn't like it.
I don't know if I'd like that one either.
That, like I said, that one kind of toes the line. I think you have to have the right company, maybe.
Yeah.
Or the right branding to work that in.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did that all through that first year of college. And then while I was in College Station, I did all food service stuff. So like the first year down there, I was a fry cook at a Chicken Express. And for a broke college kid, that was pretty cool because I worked the closing shift.
What makes that cool?
Because you get to take home all the food that doesn't sell.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, so I did that the first year, and then the second year down there, I decided to switch it up a bit and wait tables, which was actually better money for tips. But yeah, so waited tables down there, and then when I moved to Denton for the University of North Texas, I got a job at Ben E. Keith. Have you ever heard of them?
Nope.
So I think there's one in town, actually. If not, they at least supply a few places here. So they're real big in Texas and in the South, but they're primarily a restaurant supplier.
Oh.
So like napkins, salt, pepper, condiments. So they're just a supplier for restaurants.
Gotcha.
But like in Texas, at least, they have a beverage distribution side.
There is one in town.
They drive huge trucks, and it says Ben E. Keith.
There is one in town. The dude that was in here when you came in.
Was he a rep for him?
No, his older brother works for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think in town they're just the restaurant side, because the only beverage distribution companies that I know in town are the Lewis Bear, and they do Anheuser-Busch products. And then there's another one I think that's based out of Milton that does like the Coors.
Gotcha.
But anyway, it was a part-time job, but I worked they let me ride the line. So I worked like literally every week, 39 and a half hours riding the 40.
Perfect.
I was a store stalker, like assistant. My only job, I worked for the route that I worked like for had the number one account in that entire, like in our entire warehouse. And it was the Walmart in Gainesville, which is right next to Lindsay. Sold a lot of beer. And my primary job was to make sure that Walmart was stocked at all times, like from the back stock.
Right on.
So, and I think I did that for like 1 or 2 years, somewhere in there. But yeah, so I would there were like a few other stores I'd hit like in my route, but I'd be at Walmart literally on Saturdays and Sundays. I would work for like 12 hours. I'd be at that Walmart for however long, but excuse me. My only job was to, from the back stock, move beer to the fridges or the coolers, whatever.
Yep.
And that was it. And so after doing that, like right around the time I dropped out, they had a full-time job open working in their warehouse, nighttime warehouse. That was a cool job. It ended up just not being for me. I got real tired of working nights. But I worked that for like another year or two, and that was my first ever full-time job. And so that was exactly what it sounds like. We would like build the pallets of like beer orders, stocking, from the warehouse, and then load them up. And by the time I left there, like my primary role was working forklifts. I had like an act for it. I would say I was like the second best guy on that crew. If any of them watch this, sorry, I may have been third best. I don't know. But I was good at working. Like my claim to fame is I was real good at working a double forklift, which is where the forks split.
Oh, yeah.
So you can have 2 pallets. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, did that, and yeah, the nights got to me, man. I liked the sun. I was like, well, it was a Sunday through Thursday, 2 p.m. till, because you would work until the trucks got loaded.
Gotcha.
And I think the worst ever was I was there for like 20 hours one time, and I was like, by the time they let us out, I was like ready to cry. I was like, dude, I want to get out of here so bad.
Yep.
Well, because it's like 20 hours of just no sunlight, working. I think the loading of the trucks alone took me like 4 hours or something like that. But that was a July 4th weekend load up, which is the biggest beer drinking holiday of all time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But the main reason I left there is I wanted to move up in the company, and they had a real like direct line of like you start in the warehouse, and then you go to a truck driver, and then you can go to a salesman, and then an area salesman or like salesman leader or whatever. You just move up. Mm-hmm. Well, I had absolutely zero interest in being a truck driver. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't want to get a CDL. Driving that truck's going to freak me out. I don't care if you say I'm going to get used to it or not. I don't want to do it. And so like I had applied a few times to get a salesman position, and every time it was kind of just like, you don't have quite the experience on the truck. I was like, yeah, but I did assistant for like a year and a half. I know what it's like in the field.
Yep.
So anyway, me being young and dumb, I was like, I'm not going to put up with this. So I went and got a sales job. So I left there and decided to go sell cars.
Okay.
And That was in McKinney, Texas. So still in the North Texas area.
Yep.
I did that for just over a year. And I guess I'm like 25 at this point. So, and I sold middle of the line. It was a Buick GMC dealership. And I sold primarily, well, only new cars. I was a new car salesman, which is different than a used car salesman.
A new car is different than used car. I could
The entire process can be pretty different. So I can't decide what I'm going to do here. With a new car, it can be, I'm going to say easier, because someone can come in and be like, I want this style truck, this color, whatever. And even like if your dealership doesn't have it, you can like maybe trade with another dealership that does have it.
Right.
You can order one for the customer. They know what they want a little bit more, I should say, and it's easier to get it. Whereas if you're like a used car salesman, a customer's coming in for like that specific car, and if they don't like that car, they're leaving. And there's not ever, I mean, there are, but like most of the time there won't be like a direct like competition as far as like if your dealership has one specific car that somebody wants, you're not gonna find it somewhere else.
Yep.
You'll find comparable, but not the same.
Yep.
Whereas new cars, I have the same truck that homeboy down the road has.
Right.
So it's all price. That's all it is.
Yep.
So I did get good at negotiating at that job.
Cool.
But anyway, did that. And at that point, my mom and sister had moved to Pensacola, and they were here for maybe like a year or two before me. So they had already been living here, and I'd visited once. And some of my other family had kind of moved out of the North Texas area. And I was just, I was 25, selling cars, working 6 days a week, like 10 to 12-hour days, drinking when I could. And I was like, I'm not doing anything here. Like, I'm not doing anything. So I remember I called my mom one day, and I was like, hey, can I sleep on your couch? And my mom loved me. She was like, absolutely, come on. And I think not like 2 weeks later, I walked into the dealership, and I was like, hey, I'm leaving. Bye.
Peace.
Yeah, I did. I was like, I'm going to, I don't know if they believe me, but I was like, no, I'm going to Florida. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm going to have my toes in the sand in 12 hours. Bye.
Yep.
But yeah, so I moved here, and immediately got a job selling cars again in Milton
Cool.
at their Buick GMC dealership. And I only did that for maybe a month before I would just like, I was kind of right back into the cycle of like, I was working 6-day weeks, 10 to 12-hour days.
Yep.
And when I moved here, I kind of moved here with the intent of like 25, I don't have a plan in life. I don't know what I want to do.
Yep.
I don't know where I want to go, but I can be a beach bum for a year or two.
There
And
you
that
go.
was kind of my plan.
Yep.
And so when I moved here and immediately just fell right back into it, I was like, this is not why I moved here.
Yep.
This sucks. On top of that, like going back to like living with my mom, literally sleeping on her couch.
Yep.
And so I don't advise doing this, but I quit my job with like nothing lined up. I walked in one day and I was like so unhappy, and I was like, I quit, dude. Walked out.
Hey man, sometimes you gotta quit and light a fire under your butt.
Well,
Otherwise, you just never, like you could have been stuck there forever. Some people do that. They're too afraid to quit. They're too afraid to go look for something else. And
so I quit that with absolutely nothing lined up, and I knew like 2 people in town, and one of them was a restaurant owner. And I texted him, was like, hey, dude, can I just get like a job serving tables like a few days a week? And he was like, yeah, come on. Well, I went and talked to them, and then it just kind of fell through. Like, I never got a call back, and I was like, and me and him were like a drinking buddy, go out every weekend, hang out together, and I was like, where are we at with this, man? I say that like it was a long time in between, but it was like a few days. I was like, hey, man, where are we at? But thankfully, something came along that was really cool. So my mom's boss, he is now, and he was back then, but there was a time where he wasn't. But he's on a board of a local food bank here, Manna. You heard or seen them? So they're a local food bank, actually not far from here at all, like right down the road. But he was on their board there, and my mom had told him like that I needed a job, and they were in need of a warehouse manager with forklift experience. And
nice.
I was like,
right up my
say
alley.
less.
Yep.
Oh, I had that job within like a few days. I literally sent in my resume with references. They called me and were like, hey, come in for an interview. Went in and like on the spot, they were like, because it's hard for a place like that to get good qualified individuals because they don't pay a lot.
Yeah.
I think, so I got that job really quick, and I think they paid me like $14 an hour, which I'm going to be honest, I was like okay with. I was like, cool, whatever, I don't care. But I know that the guy before me said he was making like 9 or 10.
Oh, dang.
Like minimum wage.
Dude.
But they were having real problems keeping people.
Well, that's why. I wonder why. It's like,
well, it's a nonprofit. There's like no money coming through that except for donations and grants.
Yeah.
But they were having a problem, so I guess the board approved. They were like, "Hey, we got to get someone in here that'll stay," because they were just running through warehouse managers.
Yeah, and that costs money.
Sadly,
too.
I was one of them. But well, there's a reason. But so I took that job, and I think I was there for like 7 or 8 months, like less than a year. But I planned on being there at least for a while, like until I figured something out, because it was something that, like, to be honest, I didn't have to think a whole lot about. It just made sense to me. I could go in. I knew how like a warehouse worked, so I kept everything organized. I knew how to keep count of everything, keep track. All the volunteers pretty much had their own like roles. Like they'd been there longer than I had, so they would come in, do their work, and leave, and I didn't have to boss any of them around. I had one assistant under me who I would pretty much just keep in the warehouse all the time. I would do a lot of like pickups and deliveries.
Gotcha.
But so yeah, I did that for 6, 7, 8 months. I don't know. And then I got an offer from Navy Federal.
From Navy Federal, the big old Navy Federal. And they moved in here when? Because I've talked to a lot of people, and they're like, man, this town
Like
used to be so small.
10, 20 years, maybe? I don't know, but
Gotcha.
I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I really had no intention of leaving because, like I said, I liked everyone at Mana. I still talk to some of them, and I try to like give back when I can, but it's not a lot.
Yeah.
But I still like support them and what they do around here. But I think before I'd even got that job, I was kind of sending out some applications like for the server and then there. And I had put one in at Navy Federal for like, the only way you get, it's changed, it's different now. And I have a lot of thoughts on Navy Federal, but I'm keeping to myself.
Okay.
Considering my wife still works there.
Oh, there you go.
But so anyway, I'd put that in, and back then the only way you would get hired there is if you were willing to go work as what they call an MSR, or member service representative. So you're on the phones in their biggest department, which is account services, which is you call in, hey, what's my bank balance? It's $1,000. Have a nice day.
Yep.
But like I said, I put that in before I took the job at Mana, so it took them like 6, 7 months to even get back to me. But I remember I got a call, and they were like, hey, do you want to work here? And I was like, it depends. What are you offering?
Yep.
And they started me out. This would have been I started there in February of 2019. They started me out at $14.75 an hour, with full benefits though. So the way they kind of get people around here is, one, even just 6 years ago in 2019, that was relatively, like, for this area, that's a pretty decent wage. Starting
$14 an hour, dude.
With the benefits though, their benefits package I would say is one of the best in town, if not the best. But anyway, I decided to take that because I was like, I can kind of, at that point in life, I was a warehouse manager. Like, the title, whether you want to believe it or not, means something like on a resume. And so I was like, well, I can go answer phones for 6 months because that's their probationary period. I was like, I can go answer phones for 6 months and then work my way into like a supervisor role, manager, whatever it is, but get off the phones because I don't like talking to people on the phone for 8 hours. It's 8 hours a day nonstop.
Yeah.
There is no break.
That sounds terrible.
It's awful. I
Yeah.
did it for 3 years.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
But yeah, so I started there, met my wife.
I was gonna
met
ask,
my
is
now
that
wife.
Is that where you met your wife?
So we actually met, me and he's still a friend of mine. Me and my buddy Josh, he'll probably watch this. We decided to go out for drinks one night, and it just never stopped. But me and him went out one night, and I think maybe we'd like just graduated training, and Kendall, cut that out. I don't want to say her name. And my wife, she was out, and she was on his team, so they knew each other. And we went to Perfect Plain Brewery down here. Have you been yet?
Nope. I've seen it. I haven't
Do
been,
you
though.
drink? I don't know.
No, I don't drink.
So you wouldn't go.
No.
So sadly, I used to before I started working at Navy Federal. I think I was there 6 days a week,
How do you afford that making
making $14
an hour?
sleeping on mom's couch.
Yeah. Yep. So are you still sleeping on mom's couch when you working at Navy Federal?
Yeah. It wasn't for super long because by the time I got that job, I was starting to clean up my act a little bit.
Gotcha.
But I still I had to build up a little bit of savings before I wanted to move out. And thankfully, my mom just not pushy enough to say anything.
Yeah.
But I know when my welcome's been overstayed, and I was at that point.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, I did got that job. Just to roll back, my wife was at the Perfect Plain Brewery where me and Josh decided to go, and like a movie from across the bar, they saw each other and were waving, and I saw her, and we made eye contact, and I was like, that girl's hot. And that night, we met for a few seconds, and as soon as me and Josh left, I was like, dude, give me that girl's phone number. And she added me on Facebook the next day, and it was what's up?
Yep. Nice.
Rest is history.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah, so I did my 6 months on the phones and account services, crushing it by all metrics. And I think was probably being fast tracked to move up. I don't know. But anyway, there was after the 6 months, you're free to start applying for other positions, other departments. And I had kind of started, wasn't having a whole lot of luck. And I remember there was one opening for the fraud department, the card fraud department, which is still on the phone 8 hours a day. But instead of what's my bank balance is, hey, I have fraud on my card. Someone stole my card.
Yep.
Someone got into my accounts.
A little more exciting.
Yeah, and I've always kind of had an investigative brain,
Yeah.
I guess. I was a good investigator. I'll say that. But so anyway, yeah, I took that position, which bumped me up a pay grade and was a promotion.
So what's a fraud investigator for Navy Federal make?
Well, so technically, there's a ton of different positions up there. And so what I was an MSR in the card fraud department.
Gotcha.
There are fraud investigators who work in the fraud department, which is
Gotcha.
a totally different role.
Gotcha.
My wife did that role for a year and hated it.
Gotcha.
But so an MSR in the card fraud department at Navy Federal, you're answering phone calls for 8 hours a day. But again, it's a typical example would someone calling in and being, hey, I lost my debit card last night. I just woke up and there's all these charges that I don't recognize. And so essentially, at the end of the day, really what you are is a glorified website filler outer, because you can go to Navy Federal's website or the app and be like, I don't recognize these charges, and file a fraud claim online.
Gotcha.
If you bank with Navy Federal, do that. Don't call in.
Yeah.
But so someone would call in, and I'd basically, not in the same way, but in our own system, fill out the form, walk them through it over the phone. It's a lot longer of a call. And so in that aspect, it was really nice for me. So in account services, I remember an average day would be something like 50 to 100 calls. So they're all 5-minute bangers,
Yep.
one after the other. And I can only say, thanks for calling Navy Federal. This is Jordan. How can I help? So many times.
Yep.
Whereas in fraud,
You sound like you've said it a lot.
yeah. Oh, I can still answer a phone real
Yep.
good,
Yep.
but that doesn't mean I'm enjoying it.
Yep. So do you answer the phone at Grass Cowboys now and say,
If you call it, don't call it right now, but I've got an answering service turned on for it.
gotcha?
But they let me pick out what the opening line is, and I don't know if they say it, but it's supposed to be howdy, thanks for calling Grass Cowboys. This is so-and-so. How
Gotcha.
can I help?
Cool.
I don't know if they say the howdy, but they're supposed to. But anyway, in fraud, your average phone calls per day was way lower. It was maybe 20. Again, because sometimes one call might take you 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on how much is actually going on. So I think I did that for 2 years, but before I left.
And then why? Did you leave to go cut grass?
There was like a checklist of things that caused me to leave Navy Federal, and if you want to get into it, I'm happy to.
Nope.
Okay.
Not really.
It just wasn't for me anymore.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
So I'll say this about it. At the end of the day, it's a great company. Like I said, my wife still works there. Great benefits. Our pay's okay.
Yep.
But COVID and lockdown started happening during this time.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like being told what to do. I really don't like being told to put a mask over my face.
Yep.
Especially when it doesn't make sense.
Did they want you to get the jab?
Before I left, they had implemented either you get the jab and give us your record, or you submit to weekly like swab testing.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and I was like, I'll be honest, I think that was one of like my final straws. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Get boned.
Yeah. Good. Here's what I don't get about the whole COVID thing is like when it happened, you could go look statistically what your chances of getting COVID and dying from it was. And then as like, because I think I was
really low.
Must have been like 35 when that happened. So a 35-year-old male with no health issues, the chance of dying was incredibly low. And then you can go look at the statistics on the shots and look at your chance of dying from the shot, much higher. Yeah. I was like, screw that. No,
okay.
No way. And dude, I remember arguing with my brother about this. He's like, yeah, but you're going to spread it to everybody else. I'm like,
natural immunity.
I said, yeah, but they're better off getting it than getting the shot.
That's always been my mindset.
Like 99.9% of people are better off just getting it than getting the shot. Didn't make any sense to me.
I know people who were forced to get it, to keep their employment. And it was a tough time for everyone because I know like it's hard to give up a job. And it's hard to say F you.
Especially you got a good one.
I didn't. I left Navy Federal kind of in fashion where I was fed up.
Yep.
I wasn't able to get promoted and move forward the way I was wanting to. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that was due to what was going on in the world and the way they were implementing certain protocols. Mm-hmm. Well, I was already bored there, and so I decided to start my own company. Mm-hmm. And I think I had my company going for like a year before I like officially quit.
What company?
Which one?
Grass Cowboys?
No.
What were you doing?
So there's been a lot of iterations, and we can get into this now. So my very first company that I ever started, technically it's all the same company if you want to get like real nitty gritty with it.
Yeah, you just doing DBAs or what?
You can change the LLC name for like $25.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't know that. Interesting.
Good to know, ain't it?
Yeah.
Or else I'd have a ton of LLCs.
Yeah. Or one LLC and a bunch of DBAs.
So it initially started as, this is going to sound weird, I learned to ride a motorcycle for the first time ever in my life. At like, I don't know, man, 28, 29, whatever it is. And
how old are you now?
So I just turned 32.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel old. That's bad to say, but I'm like, right now I'm like, because I just turned it last Friday.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, why am I not doing more in life? And that's why I'm here.
So welcome to the club, man.
But so anyway, I tend to sometimes if I like pick up a new skill or pastime, I tend to get really into it, like all in.
Yep.
And so I learned how to ride a motorcycle. I bought one the same day I passed my license test.
Cool.
Like I passed the license test and took my truck, drove to a meeting, bought a bike.
Cool.
And so I think kind of like learning everything, I got real into like taking the bike apart and putting it back together and customizing it. So I bought a second motorcycle. So I had two at one time. And the second one I completely redid into a bobber style. Do you know what that is?
Nope.
It's like real chopped up.
Cool.
It's kind of bare bones, I guess may be the right term, but it's real cut up.
Yep.
Like no rear fender, flat seat.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
So anyway, during that time, I was kind of like, I was bored at work, right? So I'm trying to find stuff to fill my time outside of work. So I was getting real into bikes, and I was like, I can do something with this. Like I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I can do something with this just to make a little bit of side money.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out and I bought this big gaming PC, which I still have to this day, that I use for gaming. But I bought it for video editing because I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, which I do have. It has like 4 videos.
Cool.
And somehow off those 4 videos that I posted like 3, at this point, it'd be like 4 or 5 years ago, I have like 100 subscribers and like 20,000 views on all the videos. I'm like, I should have just kept with it.
Yeah, should have kept going.
I think moto vlogging is like a pretty good niche on YouTube. Excuse me. But so anyway, cut that.
We don't cut nothing. You can't cut nothing.
With all that going on, I was like, what would I even call this thing? So I just decided to call it JCL Cycles LLC. Again, not knowing what it was.
Yep.
I just opened the LLC. So I got a website, jclcycles.com. And it pretty much started off as a POD t-shirt company. You know what POD is?
Nope.
Print on demand.
Oh, I got you. You say POD, I think of the band. You ever listen to POD?
Prophet of Doom. I think that's what this stands for.
No.
It's Prophet of something, isn't it?
Is it?
I don't know.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Jamie, look that up.
Yeah. We need a Jamie.
But yeah, I know POD.
Yeah. I saw them live once. They were actually really good.
The last concert I went to, man, the last concert I went to might have been last year. I went and saw the Eagles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
It was really cool. I saw a lot of old people fall.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Oh, yeah. So, jclcycles.com.
Yep.
I'm doing print-on-demand T-shirts. And I remember I like to learn, like especially in business. So, sometimes I tend not to ask questions. Rather, I'll just go find the answer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, I remember I was like, well, how do you sell T-shirts? Get a big Instagram following. I was just like, that makes sense.
Yep.
So, I went and just started following a bunch of people like that would follow the similar pages that I was trying to build. And, you know, Instagram, I think it's probably a little more strict now, but they would like cap you at like 200 people.
Yeah.
So you could only go and follow like 200 a day.
Yep.
And I think I got like 1,000 followers doing that in a few weeks. And I sold 1 T-shirt.
Nice.
I lost money because I didn't understand anything.
Yeah.
It was a, cheap Gildan or Bella canvas, whatever it was, with like a design that I had made. I do like graphic design. That's one thing I get into. And someone bought a T-shirt, and I don't know what it is, but I was using like Printful or Printly, one of those. And let's just say it's like $20 for them to make it and ship it and do all the stuff to it. And so I, not understanding anything, I was like, I'll just charge $25. Fuck it.
Yep.
And so I sold a shirt, and then after the shipping and the cut that Printful gets, it came out to where like I owed them like $5. And I was like, what the hell?
Yep.
So yeah, that was when I was kind of like, I don't understand product-based businesses. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yep.
I made that decision real fast.
Yep.
And on the side of doing that, I was with 2 different bikes. I would buy a motorcycle, either rebuild it or customize it, and then try to resell it for a little bit of a profit. And I figured out, 1, that's a lot harder to do than you think, and then 2, because I like to do things by the book. I looked it up in the state of Florida. If you buy and sell more than 2 vehicles a year, you're supposed to have a dealer's license. So I know people don't people do that and don't, but I was like, I don't even want to risk it, so I'm just not gonna do it.
Yep.
Sorry. So then after that, I was like, well, what else can I do? Like just on the weekends and make a little bit of money. And I kind of grew to not like hate motorcycles, but I lost my passion real quick. And I think I kind of came to the realization that like, and this, I don't think everyone's like this, but for me, I was like, if I try to turn something I'm passionate about into money, I'm going to lose the passion and I'm going to end up resenting that thing.
Yep.
So I intentionally was like, what can I do around here to make some money on the weekend that I don't love?
Yeah.
And I was like, I can mow lawns.
There you go.
I can mow lawns.
Yep.
And and I'll be honest, I think because this is still during like kind of the height of COVID lockdowns, everyone's being real weird. And I think I was like, scrolling on TikTok and Instagram, which I only had TikTok for like a week. I deleted it off my phone real quick. I don't know if you have it.
I have it, but I don't ever look at it.
I literally caught myself real early. Like I said, I didn't have it very long. One day I remember I was just like laying in bed, trying to go to sleep. And I was like, I'm just going to scroll TikTok for like 30 minutes and then go to bed. And no joke, it felt like 30 minutes. And I looked over and it was like 4 or 5 a.m. And I was like, immediately at that moment, I was like, delete. I want nothing to do with this.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if there are people out there like that, just delete it.
Yep. So you're mowing lawns on the side. At what point in time did you decide
To take it full time.
Yeah, what made you make that decision?
So I started that out super bare bones. Like I'll be honest, I never really planned on being like a big entrepreneur, having a big business. I was really just dipping my toes. And even the lawn mowing part of it, for me, it was, I just want a couple extra $100
Yep.
to help pay off a credit card here and there.
Yep.
And so I started it with nothing. I took like $300. I went to Home Depot. I got a mower and one of those Ryobi attachment things with like the weed eater and the edging attachment.
Yep.
Oh, and then like the cheapest leaf blower you can get.
Yep.
And that's how I started it.
Yep.
I would just roll around on the weekends to like 2 or 3 homes with it all packed into the back of my
In
truck.
your personal truck? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The truck that's still out there.
Yeah. And so then how were you getting work at that point in time?
All word of mouth.
Just word of mouth? Did you post on Facebook or anything?
A little.
Yeah.
So, and at that time, so it's still JCL Cycles LLC, and I got a DBA for JCL Landscaping.
Ah, gotcha.
And that was real weird for customers. It was weird for me because like if someone like would like make a check or see like the credit card invoice or like on their statement, it would say JCL Cycles LLC, and I would have to explain to them like that's the legal name.
Yep.
I have a DBA for
What the
JCL
crap is this?
Landscaping. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yep.
But when I first started, it was real. What's the term? Like groundwork, feet on the ground.
Yeah. Like boots on the ground.
Boots. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Cowboy here. Can't think of boots.
Yep.
It was real boots on the ground. I would. I'd post on Facebook, have like my friends and family share it, and a lot of my first customers were like just friends and family.
Dude, how much did you charge to mow a yard?
So back then, I had no rhyme or reason. I couldn't even tell you. There was no method. I would go to a house and just kind of look at it. Like I wouldn't. I don't do it like I do now, but I wouldn't even like look at the square footage or acreage. I would just drive to a house every time and just look at it and be like, take me like an hour. I don't know. Would you pay me like $70? And that's how I did it. And everyone's was different.
Gotcha.
I didn't have a price book. So like for some people, it might be like, I think my cheapest at the time was like $40 to come and mow. And then my most expensive was like $70 because I thought that was, people aren't going to pay more than $70.
Yep.
It's outrageous.
Yep.
And like for me, that mindset at the time was, it's an extra $70 that I didn't have before.
Yep.
And I have the time.
Yep.
So why not?
Yep.
But yeah, so at the beginning, no rhyme or reason. I do remember I would go out and like, I didn't have any marketing money. So what I would do is I think I bought some postcards and I would literally go like, you're not supposed to do this, but I would tape them to mailboxes.
Yep.
Like not individual mailboxes, but like big, I don't know if y'all had them where you're at, but
Like
a
the
lot
neighborhood boxes.
of, yeah. So I would tape them to the sides of those so people could just grab them.
Yep.
And I'd even do like the little tearaways and stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, I got a few phone calls from that and did get a few customers here and there. But I think on average, I was charging like $50 a lawn, like on average.
Yep.
And did that. I don't know how long it took me to officially start doing that full time, but it was never intentional. It was just like I had that going on the side, And then everything started happening at Navy Federal that I didn't like. And just one day, I hit my threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my supervisor, I was like, dude, I'm leaving. And I went to my desk. I typed in my 2 weeks, and I did not come back. I called in sick every day for my 2 weeks.
Did you?
I did it kind of intentionally. So at Navy Federal, if you leave, they'll pay you out your whatever like vacation time you have, but not your sick time. Your sick time just stays with them. I don't think I had a whole lot, but I had like a week's worth, and I was like, I'm going to burn that. And then if I have any vacation time, I'll use that for the second week.
There you go.
I just didn't care.
Yep.
But anyway, I quit that with the mindset of like, well, I already have like this little weekend business. I can put in a little more effort and just, I can make my mindset was, because I was making when I left like $21 or $22 an hour, which for me, that was the most money I've ever made in my life.
So you quit it, and now you got to go mow yards.
But here was my mindset.
You're probably thinking, I know exactly what your mindset was. It was,
I can charge $50 for a lawn, knock it out in an hour or half an hour, two lawns in an hour, and I'm making $100, dude.
Yep.
And that's 5 times my hourly wage here.
Yep.
And that was the mindset.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not factoring costs in, probably.
What are costs?
Yeah.
What are cogs?
Yeah.
What's a P&L?
So you quit your job, and then how do you get more yards? Like, where do you go from there?
So this has kind of been the story ever since, because I admittedly, I don't put a whole lot into marketing, budget-wise. So it's always been, again, boots to the ground. So when I first did that, it's a lot of Facebook. I try to be real active on Facebook. I don't even like being active on Instagram with it. I only have it to have it, but you don't get any business from that. All your business is Facebook. You know what? Thinking back, Nextdoor was a big one. Nextdoor was huge. And I just recently even tried to get back on Nextdoor, and I don't think it's the same. It used to be really good, like as far as people being able to post like, hey, I need this or want this, and then people like me being like, I'll help you out.
Yep.
I went back and checked it out the other day, and just in our area, it was kind of like a wasteland. It was an empty space.
Yeah. So how many, I know eventually you got on that app that my wife found you on, and then we started paying you off
Lawn
app.
Starter.
Because that app takes a cut of your money, right?
So that was big for me. So at that point in the business, I had changed the name again at some point in there because I had, at that point, I had started to watch Mike Andes, who is, Bible for lawn care people.
Yeah, he's like the lawn care guy.
If you don't know who he is and you're in lawn care, check him out.
Yep.
All his course is free now. I just re-enrolled. So
nice. Cool.
It's totally free. But anyway, I was like, man, JCL's my initials. This isn't going to scale at all.
Yep.
So I changed the name, and I kind of went back and forth on like a few different names that involved like Emerald Coast, Gulf Coast, Premier Coast.
Yep.
And
all the typical ones.
They were, but at the time I was like, it sounds really like premium. We're on the coast. And this is going to sound really bad. So where my mom's works is called Premier Coast.
Oh, cool.
I didn't, I knew that, but I didn't remember it. And so I think when I was coming up with my name, it was like in the back of my skull, like, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
But just not recognizing where it came from.
Yep.
But so anyway, at that point I changed the LLC, Premier Coast Landscaping. Got a whole logo redesign. I went kind of all out for that.
Yep.
But I jumped the gun on a few things. So one, I bought a dedicated work truck, all cash. I did not need it. Like, what do I need that for? And it only lasted like a year. It was a 99 Ford F-250 flatbed with God knows how many miles.
Yep.
I think the reason I got rid of it is it ended up having a blown head gasket.
You'd have been better off buying a new one and having a payment on that thing.
I know.
Yep.
I know.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm so far into life now, I'm okay making mistakes that way.
Yeah.
That's how I learn.
I mean, that's how you win.
But so I went out, new logo, rebranded. I went out and bought a dedicated work truck. And I was like, man, what does every successful company have? Employees.
Yep.
So without really having anything lined up, I went out and got a helper, the guy that I think he was helping when I first started with y'all.
Yep.
I went out and got a helper and told him I'd pay him $15 an hour because I met him at that time. I was having to pick up a little bit of extra work during the winter, and so I worked at like a Planet Fitness for like 2 months, just to get me through the winter.
Yep.
And I met him there, and we were all made. This is sad. So Planet Fitness here, not 3 or 4 years ago, it's like $8.50 an hour.
Phew, man.
So like if you go to a Planet Fitness and you wonder why like the desk people don't care about whatever you're telling them, that's why.
That's why.
But so I met this guy that I worked with, a young kid. Even now I think he's like 20 or 21, younger than me. But I was like, hey man, I'll pay you $15 an hour if you want to come work for me. And it's all part-time, so I was like, I'll give you like 20 hours a week. I don't know. And this is all like me learning, right? But I brought him on as like a 1099 employee, which I'll never do again.
Yep.
It's not fair to the employee, the contractor.
Nope.
The contractor is what you technically call them.
Yep.
But yeah, so I paid him as a 1099, and during that time, that's when I started doing lawn starter because I kind of forced myself into this. I got a truck, I got an employee. Now I need the work. It should be opposite, but I was like, now I need the work. How do I get it?
Yep.
And so I found that lawn starter app, and I was like, oh, well, here's this thing that just the way I thought of it is it just brings me the leads. I just got to go mow the lawns.
Yep.
And this is how I kind of like, before I met you or talked to you, my thought process was, I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say like you picked up a lawn and for the customer, it was like $50 to mow the lawn, right? The company, like my cut of that would maybe be 30 to 35. I don't know, somewhere in there. And the way I rationalize that is like, well, that's just my marketing cost. Like if I'm treating this like a lead generation, that's my marketing cost, right? But what I didn't factor in or think about is it's every time.
Yeah, every time.
Every time.
Yep.
And that will add up.
Yep.
And also, I'm paying this kid $15 an hour. If I'm making, and sometimes they'd be big lawns or a lot of time it was overgrown. Someone would use the app and be like, come mow the lawn. It's only been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we get there and the grass is as high as this table. And it would suck because on the app, you could refuse it. If you got there, you could take a picture and be like, this is the state of the yard. And then you could actually, this happened one time, you can send a counter offer. So I remember one time specifically, we went to one and I got there and it was like, of course, like $50. And no joke, we walked into the backyard and the grass was so tall, it was above this table. And there were tables in the yard, like not picked up. And we started walking around, there were like basketballs and stuff. And I was like, no way. But we were already there and it was a drive. It was kind of out north of town. And so I sent a count, like I walked back to the truck. I said, get in the truck real quick to the employee. And I could see the people were inside, like looking through their blinds. And so on the app, I whipped it out because they wouldn't come out and talk to me. And so I said, decline, counter offer. I threw it way high. I was like $400 and I'll mow this lawn. I'll clean it up, whatever. Immediately denied. I don't get anything though. That's total, like from the app. I don't get like a gas reimbursement.
Yeah.
We just drove all that way for nothing.
Yep.
So that's another downside of it.
Yep. Do they set the price, the app?
For the first visit, they do.
Yeah.
So the way it would work, like on my end, right, is it shows you a map and it shows you all the lawns that like you can pick up. And for the first visit, that app, because the customer technically can dictate like what day you're going to be to mow, how often the intervals are going to be, and then the app sets the price. And on my side, I don't even know what you're being charged. I just know what my cut is.
Gotcha.
The only reason I was able to figure out what the difference was I think talking to your wife the first time, I was like, hey, by the way, how much are y'all paying?
Yeah.
And that's when I figured out what the difference was. And I was like, okay.
So if you're making $35 off a yard, paying a kid $15 an hour, that leaves you with $20.
Oh, I was leaving myself with negative dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going negative.
Literally.
For sure.
It bled me dry because I was trying to do everything the right way. As far as like, I was trying to really like outpace with where I actually was with the business. So like I was trying to teach him how to drive the truck with the trailer So I remember putting him on my insurance, like because I had business insurance on the truck.
Yeah.
And it was because he was like 18 with
Yep.
a few speeding tickets, and it was astronomical.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever, we'll just mow more lawns on Lawn Starter. I was like, literally, we'll just outwork the cost,
Yep.
not realizing that it was never going to happen.
No. That's what most people think. I'll just work more.
I did.
Work more. That's the answer.
I thought at the time that, man, if there are $1 million lawn care companies out there, they must literally just be mowing 1,000 lawns.
Yep.
That has to be the answer.
Yep.
And that's what I tried to do. I just tried to pick up every lawn I could on that app. And then what I figured out that you could do is after the first visit, because the first visit, like on the lawn care side, it's kind of like mandatory. You can't reschedule it. You can't try to off the rip renegotiate a price. But if you go and mow it after the first time, the app will let you reschedule it. Or it'll let you like maybe change the dates around, and then if you want to offer a new price to the customer, you can. But a lot of times they're going to deny it.
Yep.
That's what I found out.
Yep.
So what I started to do is kind of what I did with y'all is I'd pick up a lawn on the Lawn Starter, and I kind of just set this rule to where like I'll mow it like 2 or 3 times, and then I'm done.
Yep.
So we'd go, I'd pick up whatever lawn. And then within that first visit, if no one answered, I'd leave a business card. And like, I would write on it. I would say, I mowed your lawn today. Call me. I would like leave a note, like, call me so we can get rid of this middleman. Yeah, I mean, y'all did it. And I had a few other people do it.
So I know we did it just because we understood middleman was taking a cut, poor guy's money, and we knew how much we were paying.
I don't think y'all were paying much.
And I looked at it and I thought, there's no way this guy's making any money. Like, it's impossible. There's no way.
I would literally, so during that time, me and my then fiance, we were living with my mother-in-law. So again, bills were real low. And we were doing that for a reason. We were in the market for a house, but our apartment lease had ended. And we were like, we're not going to re-sign. So we moved in there for a few months. But so bills were really low. But I remember like I was paying that kid weekly by check.
Yeah.
Because it's just what I knew to do.
Yep.
And I remember like there'd be some weeks where I'd be like scared. I'd be like, here's your check, dude. And I would have like less than 3 digits in the bank account.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to get gas.
Yep. So then, was that the first year you went full time when you started mowing my house?
I think that was technically like the first calendar year of full time. Yeah.
So how much did you make your first year?
Dude, I don't even want to say. It was
atrocious. Did you make anything?
I made money.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Like, what's not a lot?
Like less than 30,000.
Less than 30?
But again, that's all. That was all just like straight word of mouth.
Yeah.
Doing the Lawn Starter, nothing else.
And then you don't know anything.
Yeah.
So I
You
mean,
don't know
at
what you
least
don't know.
kudos to you for going for it. And I mean, that's how you learn, right?
That's how I learn.
Yeah.
I've always been this person where it's like, and to this day, even in my business, I get asked every day, if any of my customers see this, they'll attest. But if you ask me a question, honestly, like 8 times out of 10, my answer is, I don't know, but I'll find out.
Yeah. Well, I think
And
that's
I do.
I think that's a great way to answer. If you don't know, just let them know I don't know, but I'm going to find out.
But I don't know a lot.
Yeah.
Even as a landscaper, someone asked me the other day, like, what's this plant? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I can find out for you, or let me show you this. Have you ever used Google Lens? Mm-hmm. Greatest thing ever.
Yep.
Even for me, I use it all the time.
Yeah.
Now, if someone asks me what something is, I'm like, I don't know.
Let me find out.
Yeah.
So eventually you came over to my house and we sat down and I ran you through your costs.
Yes.
Was that incredibly eye-opening to see how much it costs you per hour
The most.
to run your business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Backtrack just a little bit. Mm-hmm. So between us meeting and talking, there was another year I was in business.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So after that winter, that kid quit. Because I straight up, I was like, dude, I don't have enough during the winter, even now. But I was like, I don't have enough work like coming in to keep you afloat, let alone myself. So
Yep.
let him go. And then the whole next year, so now we're into, this would have been 2023. Because I think we talked in last year, 2024, yeah.
Gotcha.
So all of 2023, I worked by myself because at the end of 22, I was like, I had no money. And I was like, even making as little as I did, I was like, where's all the money? Like I should have something.
Dude, that's the age-old question.
So I was like, I'm just going to do this.
Do you know where the money goes now?
Yeah.
Do you understand it now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can even, if you want like a little bit later on, I can break down the job I just finished today. Maybe we do like a mock P&L, just see how it's working. Yeah. But I was like, I'm just going to do a full 12 months working by myself and just work myself to the bone, essentially. Yep. I'm going to be honest, I hit 30 and the summers here they get to me, man.
Yep.
It's like June, July, August when it's 115 outside with 99% humidity.
Yep.
I'll be honest, there are some days where like I'll get up early, go out, and I'll get like 3 or 4 lawns done, and I'm like, I have to go home. I've had heat exhaustion twice. Once was really close to a heat stroke. So like mentally I can work through it and I know how to, but physically my body can't keep doing it. Anyways, all that to say, I was like, I'm just going to work through it. Like I'm not going to have a helper. I'm just going to see how much work physically I can handle.
Yep.
And see how much money I make.
Yeah.
Well, so I did that all through 2023, and it was a little better. I think that year I broke like 40, which again,
when you say 40, is this 40 in revenue?
Yeah, for the year.
Okay.
Which is still like, that's super low. I know it is, but that's zero marketing. I wasn't even doing Lawn Start at that point. That was literally all just word of mouth, me working hard.
Gotcha.
And then, what happened with me and my wife. And that was honestly me like dropping a whole lot of humility. Because again, I don't like asking for help. I like to figure things out. Which after you and I met, I've changed. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna ask.
Dude, man, I'll ask the dumbest question in the world if I don't know. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Be dumb.
Yeah.
Be dumb.
Yep.
Ask questions.
Be the dumbest guy in the room.
It was, man. It was one of those points in life where she's at with work and looking back on I was looking at, what I made in 2023. I was like, I can just go get a job. And I don't have to have all this mental stress. I don't have to have the physical stress. Make more money, not have to put up with this. But
I remember you telling me that. Yep.
But I was like, I'm gonna hate my life because of where I was at then and where I'm at now. I was like, if I go back to working for anyone, I'm not gonna make it.
No.
It'll be job. I can tell you right now, it would be job to job to job to job.
Yep.
And just for a second, I'll give you some credit. Thank God I met you and your family, because if I didn't, I would not be running this business. I would have quit. I'd be back at some dead end job. I'd probably have had 2 or 3 of them by now.
Yep. That's cool.
But so anyway, I took some humility off my plate, and I was like, I'm just going to ask someone that I know has been successful. And I didn't even know what to expect. Like, I didn't know what I was asking for, to be honest. I was just like, how do you make it work, man?
Yeah.
What do I have to do?
Yeah.
And cut to, you and I had a meeting, and I think really all we did was go over your hourly calculator.
Yeah.
And kind of showed me what it cost I wasn't bringing in enough to say like what it costs to run the business, because I'm still so small.
Yeah.
But like what it would cost if you are bringing in 6 figures, 7 figures.
Yeah.
What's that look like?
Yep.
And change my whole mindset, outlook, everything.
Yep. I like the way Ellen Rohr puts it. She just says, you got to charge more than it costs.
And some.
Yeah. Well, and to do that, you got to know what it
gotta
costs.
know what it costs,
Yeah. And so you got to figure out, and there's more that goes into it than just here's my cost. Now you got to figure out, well, how many yards can I mow? Well, I have all this time that I'm selling. How much of it can I sell in a year? And most people don't know.
Never even, before we sat down and talked, I never even thought about it that way. Like selling time.
Yeah.
I knew that, like, because I had been through, well, right before you and I met, I had been through the Mike Andes course.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a little bit there. But the one thing that he's missing is like how to come up with your hourly rate. I went back and rewatched recently, and even because his course videos are old, like some of them are like a decade.
Yep.
But he redid all of them like 2 years ago. So you can see the old ones and the recent ones. And on his hourly rate section, even his newer ones, the way he said, like the way that he teaches to come up with that is, to figure out what a comparable wage would be for an employee at a company like yours. So like just say here, say it's $15 an hour, which I'm pretty sure it probably is for lawn care helpers, assistants.
Yeah.
Just you don't have to do this, but bump it up to 20. That way you're the number one in town, right?
Yep.
But then just make sure that your hourly is at least 4 times that, because the way he puts it, you want what your hourly wage is to be 25%, like minimum of your hourly wage. So if you did that math, it'd come out to like, all right, well, I'm gonna pay guys $20 an hour. Hourly is gonna be 80. That's it.
Yeah.
Which I think, to be honest, it probably works. Like, it's super simple, and I think you could build he has.
Yeah.
But even his franchisees, I think you can build a decent business doing it that way. It's a different way of thinking about it.
You can. The only thing I don't like.
I don't know how it scales though.
Well, it'll probably scale okay, honestly, but for the guy starting out, that'd probably be tough because a lot of the times you have inflated overhead because in the very beginning, you have to spend the most on a customer because you don't have return customers. So at scale, you gain a little bit of economy of scale. Yeah, sure, you can keep prices. Like, people think that when you get a ton of overhead, you have to be more expensive to cover all the overhead. That's not true. It's only true for a short period of time, and then you get economy of scale, and all of a sudden you can actually charge less than the guys trying to start out. And so oftentimes guys starting out, to get to the next step, you have to incur all that overhead as a small guy, and you need to charge more for that. So if you followed that pricing rule, you would know if you're accounting for all of your expenses or not.
True.
And so that's why with mine, we go, okay, let's track our expenses constantly, plus how much time we're selling, and let's figure out how much we need to charge based on how much time we're selling and our expenses.
Right.
Pretty simple equation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You walked me through it, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I told you, but I just recently had to go back and like redo mine. I adjusted my prices a bit.
Yep.
For 2025.
Yeah. Why?
My close ratio is in the dirt, man.
So close
For lawn
ratios in
mowing.
the dirt, I would think about getting into a, like, instead of necessarily lowering prices, how do we get a better customer that I can have higher close rates with?
So I think about this all day long. When I'm riding the mower, all thoughts.
Yep.
But right now, I say it's in the dirt. My lawn mowing estimates, I'm at like maybe 10% close ratio. Like, not good, right?
Right.
Projects, I'm like 90 to 100.
Projects, are you bidding in person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why.
That's why.
But I do treat them differently because they are different.
Yeah.
But yeah, projects is like 90 to 100. Lawn mowing's like less than 10. So it kind of sucks because as a business, like if you were to look at it on paper, and I did for like March, I did like for my first quarter, I sit somewhere around 50, like realistically, which if you say as a business, like 50 is good. That's where you want to be. But
50 what?
50% close ratio on
Gotcha.
estimates.
Okay. So let's back up a little though, because like 2022, you did a little more revenue. 2023, you did a little more revenue. How'd 2024 go?
Better.
Yeah.
I'm my hardest critic. I made more money than I ever have. So I crushed it in that sense, but it's still low. Like for me, I think I closed 2024 like right around 60.
You doubled almost from 30.
And not by no exaggeration, I did half the work.
Yeah.
Maybe less than half.
Cool.
So that I consider last year an experiment.
Yeah.
It taught me that people will pay
Yep.
what you're worth. People will pay what you're worth, and I don't have to work myself to the bone to make a decent living.
Yeah.
And kind of, I guess how I think of it is, looking back, it had to be done. It needed to be done. But last year, I switched from like what I would call like being in a growth model. This is all from Mike Andes, so shout out. I'll say his name a few more times, I'm sure. But I went from like a growth model to profit, meaning I didn't really care about gaining customers because, I mean, I was making more money. I was enjoying not having to work as hard. I was like, this is cool, man. Just raising prices. And so I kind of...
So you, like with that, your costs went down too, though, because now you have half the gas, half the drive time, half the wear and tear on your mower, half the wear and tear on your weed eaters.
If I paid myself an hourly wage, which I don't right now for reasons, it's because I'm still a single member LLC. So come tax time, it's all the same.
Yep.
But once I break 6 figures, I'll switch to like an S corp.
Yep.
And do it the right way.
Yeah.
But for now, it works. It's fine. But I still track it the same. So yeah, it was awesome, and margins would have been
much better
where they needed to be.
So now you just got to figure out how to get more of it.
I do, and I really struggle with this because it's like I know where I want my business to go, and I know where I want it to be. And like where I want it to be is I want it to be replicatable. I want it to be cut and paste. And in my industry, it's mowing. Anyone can do it, so it's low cost or low barrier to entry. You can train anyone to do it, right? And I can, again, replicate that business after business after business. So that's like where I want to go. And realistically, you could probably say that mowing, like where I want it to be, is about 50 to 60% of all revenue. And that's pretty normal for a landscaping business. But I'm just not there right now. Last year I was. Last year crushed it. But through natural attrition, I started to really freak out in like February this year. I lost y'all as a client, which like, not upset, but like I lost y'all. And I lost a good number of others just, again, through natural attrition. So for us, that's going to be people selling their home, people moving. Unfortunately, I had a few die this year, which was like a first for me. I was like, sad. That sucks. But it happens, right? And like in March is really when leads started to come in. And again, admittedly, I haven't put a whole lot into marketing budget-wise. So this is all just the I don't want to cut my own thought track off, but we rebranded this year to Grass Cowboys. So there you go.
Much better name.
The rebrand alone has paid for itself, man.
Has it?
The brand recognition is so great. Everywhere I go, people see this and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I love that name." And I don't even have to ask. I'm like, they're gonna think of me if they need anything. I went and set up like all my new bank accounts and everything, and everyone in there, the tellers, everyone were like, "That's a really cool name."
That is a good name.
Like, cool. I'll remember it. But so anyway, we're in February this year, and I've got leads coming in just through natural. I think as of right now, like my own like referrals just from existing customers, word of mouth, and like my own personal brand in town speaks for itself. And so, you know, I have leads coming in, and I think in the month of March I closed a few out of all of them for lawn mowing.
So how do your, like when you say leads coming in, where they like, what's the process? How do they come in?
So
where are they coming from?
I think the vast majority are through the website, and I try to drive everything to the website. That's where my forms are.
It's just a form on your website,
and it's above the fold.
And it's just what, request quote now or free quote, or what does it say?
It says like for your free estimate, for your free quote. I don't know what exact wording is, but excuse me. I do get a lot of information up front intentionally. I want to weed out people that aren't real buyers, real customers. So I get mandatory name, email, phone number, home address, and a message. And then I have a link that you can post a picture of your yard in too, but that one's not mandatory. But that's a lot of information for someone to give up, right? Even for just a lawn mowing quote. You can go to Lawn Starter, Lawn Love. There's a few of them now that are the same thing, but you can go to those and just type in your address, nothing else.
Yep.
Instantly spits you out. And I've done it on like my address, and it's like a half of what I charge, like what they would do it for. But it gives it to you instantly. You get your weekly and your biweekly price, and then it says, when do you want to start? And I think for lawn mowing, I kind of think that's the way to go, unless, and I'm not opposed to this. It's just it would take me longer to grow unless you're offering like full service. I can't just give you a quote over the phone or on the website because of how much is going to be entailed in this.
Yeah. It's
So
like
it's two
like,
different business models.
Yeah, it's like two different business models in one. Did you watch the episode with the? Oh, that hasn't come out yet. The pool guy is coming out. So I just had him on. He has a pool business in Phoenix, and it by the time people watching this, it'll have came out, but you haven't seen it. But basically, so he's got the pool service section of his business, and then he's got the repair business. So he's repairing the pool equipment or making actual pool repairs. And so what, after talking to him, it's kind of interesting. I've been talking to him for a while now, and he, most pool companies, they'll eat it on the pool repairs and make their money on the pool maintenance. And because they want that recurring revenue, and that recurring revenue, like when you go to sell, that's what gets big multiples. And so they'll do these pool repairs for super cheap. And what they'll do is they'll advertise the pool maintenance, okay? And then to keep the maintenance when it's a pool repair, they just do it for cost. So the pool repairs are super cheap, but they make good money on the pool maintenance. What this guy did instead is he figured that on the pool, on like the repair side of it, he can be the only one in his market running pay-per-click ads, the only one marketing himself as a pool repair company. And then he goes there, makes money on the pool repair, really good margins, and then upsells them on the pool maintenance.
Okay.
And so he's building his recurring revenue all while making money doing the repairs. So it's almost kind of the same with grass, because with grass you have
Flipped. So the majority, from what I've seen online, the majority of lawn care guys, it's flipped. They'll eat it on the lawn maintenance.
Yep.
And make it all back on the.
But they're using the
projects
lawn maintenance to
as
get
your
to the
entry.
projects. I mean, you could go advertise the projects and upsell on lawn maintenance. Because here's the thing.
I'm doing that right now.
Well, here's the thing, because when you go to advertise for lawn care, if lawn care is like a low margin product that just keeps your customers around, that's every time you go to advertise, you're losing money, basically. Because every time you advertise, you get a lawn care customer and your margins are low.
Yeah.
If you advertise for, like pine straw, or like, hey, does your pine straw look like this? Let's get it fixed. Or, hey, what are the wood chips?
Mulch.
Does your mulch look like this? Like mulch installation, pine straw installation.
So, what I found in this market is, and I'm not to the place where I'm willing to eat it on lawn maintenance yet, or just like the mowing.
Yeah.
But, and I know that like you kind of preach against it, but like in our market where we're at, and like the economy kind of where it's at right now specifically,
I would
you are competing on price.
I would suggest lowering your price and upping your game on the value, because you're not really competing on price. You're competing on price to value comparison.
So I did just lower my rates.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Enough to
I'm
like.
not totally against that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say, I would caution, like, if you're looking at your market and you think, okay, here's this customer and they can get lawn care here for $20 a cut and I'm charging $50 a cut. You have to compare those apples to apples, right? So if you're providing a higher quality, better service for your customer, you should cost more money. It's only natural.
Yeah.
Things of higher quality and higher value cost more money. The way that you're going to sell the customer on that is you got to be able to communicate and show that value to the customer.
And I know we've talked about it a little bit. I I think it's hard and I'm talking about mowing in general. Landscaping I have down.
Yep.
I say I have down, but mowing, like physically, I can't. Even as small as I am, I can't go do in-person estimates for every single one.
Right.
I mean, just to give you an example, the other day I got a realtor in town who came in to like, I don't know what happened, but he's now managing like 10 rental properties. And he wanted individual quotes for all 10 properties, which is cool. I can do, I do for mowing, I do it all online. It's all based on acreage.
Yep.
So I can, boom, gotcha, dude. I'm not going to 10 individual houses to do 10 in-person estimates with this dude.
Yep.
It would literally take me all day.
Yep.
And again, just kind of circling back, like economy, everything. I think just where people are at right now, they want the quick quote. So as much friction as I can take out of that process, I want to. But in doing so, kind of what I'm finding is it's a little difficult to build the value. Because like when and how are they going to see it? Other than like my social media branding, right?
Yeah.
And the awareness I'm trying to build there. Where do you build it?
So when they fill out a form, what happens?
It takes them to a thank you page. You'll receive your quote in 24 hours.
Put a video on it.
You think?
Yeah. Make a custom video
like a thank you video.
Like, hey, I'm Jordan with Grass Cowboys. I want to take a minute to tell you a little bit about what you can expect with our services and how the rest of this quote process works.
So would you, if you did something like that, would you recommend, because I know you have it on your homepage above the fold, would you recommend having a video like that on the homepage and for the thank you, or just having one and
I would do both.
Do both?
Yeah. And I would really try to think about, okay, so if these customers are getting a quote from me, like I would go to all the lawn care companies and I would look at their 1-star reviews.
We don't have any yet. I know that's a yet, but
I mean, competition.
Oh, competition.
Go to your competition.
Yeah.
See what people love, see what people hate, and then make a list of like 3 to 4 things that you can do different in your business that people hate about these other businesses. Okay. And those are the things that you're going to talk about before you send them a quote. So they reach out.
Those are going to be like my bullet points.
You pop up a video, and then you're going to let them know that you provide this, superior quality service compared to these other guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say I've gone to like the biggest companies in town, competitors, and their websites suck, man.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly. They suck.
Yeah, dude. There's no competition really.
Not from, and I know once I get the traffic, I think I'll crush it. But I got to get the traffic. And I just started.
Doing what?
GLSA, but it's not going good.
GLSA is kind of poopy right now for a lot of people.
Well, I'm running into some issues with my website. So I use GoDaddy, and I'm about to switch. Thankfully, my renewal period is up at the end of this month. You can't edit the code; they don't let you, and you can't add whatever the new Google tracking code is. You can't add it. They're still on an older version of it, and you can't run a Google ad without them having that tracking code on your website because they require to be able to track the analytics of it.
Yep.
So I've tried doing just pay per click, and it won't even let me do that. They're like, you've got to get the tag.
Have you ever used Go High Level? You should check it out.
Text it to me.
I'll show it to you after this podcast. But you could build your website and build out all your email and text automations in there.
But all that to say, I'm starting to do that, and I'm just the one thing that owning a business is at when you get down to the real nitty gritty. Every one of us, it's problem solving. That's all you are. You're a problem solver.
Yep.
And you run into problems everywhere, all the time.
So I 100% agree with you. It is 100% problem solving. I think the issue that most business owners have is they don't know what their problem is.
Yeah.
And so they don't know.
I didn't.
They don't know what problem to solve. And oftentimes I find that they just don't know, or they most people literally just don't take the time to even think about it, which is crazy to me.
It's not that, like I said, I didn't even know for 3 years, but it's not that I didn't think about it. It's just that to me, my solution was, I'm hard-headed, competitive. I was like,
yeah,
literally I said it. I'm going to outwork it. I'm going to outwork whatever this problem is.
Yep. That's what most people say.
They're like, yeah,
They
I can
listen to
physically
Grant
outwork this.
Cardone and Gary Vee saying, I'm going to outwork everybody. And they
I
think
have
that's the
thoughts on
ticket.
those people, man. We won't get into that. That's a whole nother podcast.
So we know you can't outwork it. I mean, you got to be smart. And like, if you combine smart, well-run businesses with people who outwork everybody, now you have a winning combo.
Yeah, but that's what it takes.
Yeah. I think you should try Facebook ads. I really do.
So,
Like, if I were you, I would try Facebook ads and I would go after mulch repair. I would go after the landscaping stuff.
the only thing about Facebook ads is, and again, I take this from Mike.
Yep.
He views that as a like brand awareness, brand building, whereas with Google, you're actually buying the lead.
Yep.
And like right now where I'm at, still so small,
Yep.
I'm like, I need the leads.
You'll get.
I need
Yep.
traffic.
Yep.
And so I don't mind building the brand too, but like I got to have a way to just get stuff funneling in.
Yeah.
That's beyond the word of mouth. And
After this, I'll show you a Facebook ad that you can run that will get you leads and build your brand awareness.
give it to me. I'll take it.
It works. And the trick is, like, if you could identify certain neighborhoods that you want to get in, so maybe you can go look at your client list and be okay, I got three, I'm pretty heavy in this main area over here, or maybe I'm in two different areas and you want to get more in that same neighborhood or nearby. You can go drop a pin and get a 1 mile radius and serve this ad to just those people. And if you get that down to like how many customers do you have now, mowing customers?
I'm not going to say, but it's not a lot.
Okay.
It's not a lot.
Like 20?
Maybe.
And how many would you need to stay busy mowing?
So I'll tell you right now, I'm mowing 2 days a week. It could be one. If I just wanted to work like a 12-hour day, I could do it in one. But I think right now per week I'm at like 10. And
10 per week, and you could be at
yeah, I could be way more.
50?
Realistically, for me to get to a place where I'd be like comfortable handing off the mowing to an employee, I need to pick up about 30 per week. So about 60, because most people are biweekly, like it's just nature of the beast here.
Yep.
I need to pick up about 60.
So you need to have 60 recurring mowing customers on a biweekly schedule.
And I worked this out the other day. I was like, that's cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
But if I'm at a 10% close rate, that means I got to bring in 600 leads.
Dude.
And I ain't bringing that much in.
Easy peasy.
It is once you start buying them.
So if you put a Facebook ad out to 6,000 people, you could hit those people probably 20 times for $600 a month.
We'll talk, but I'm about to start doing it.
And if you could get 10% of them to come get a quote, that would be 600. If you could convert 10% of those 600, there's your 60 leads.
Well, last year I experimented with physical marketing, and it didn't go well. And it may have just been what I was putting out there, but I did like more than a few rounds of postcards, and like in y'all's in that neighborhood area. 0.
Yeah.
I got some project calls out of it, but for lawn mowing specifically, and that was, it's not going to sound like a lot, but for me it was. I sent out like 1,000 or 2,000 postcards like multiple times and just wasn't getting anything. So
yeah.
And it's not that I'm against it, but like this year I'm like, I think for the money, like what it would cost me to do that, I can just put that into a monthly online marketing budget and probably get better results.
I'd do PPC and Facebook, both.
Yeah. Well, once I'm able to get the PPC going, I will. Like I said, I'm trying. I'm just problem solving it.
Yep.
And then Facebook, yeah, we'll get on that too.
So what's the goal with the business?
What isn't the goal with the business?
What do you want to do in revenue this year?
I'm really like pushing for 6-figure. I want to hit 100 because that's the benchmark.
Cool.
For solo lawn guys, 100K. Really, it's more like 150. I feel like now, which I could do if I was. I think I could hit 150 if I was primarily project based, selling a lot of material with markup. Yep. But just in mowing, I think I could probably get pretty close to like 75. And then just make up the rest to the 100. I think that's super attainable. But like I said, last year I closed right around 60, and so it's doable. Like, it's a big jump, but this is where, like, I'm hard on myself because I tell myself it's low numbers. But, like, just going back year after year, I went from 27 to 40 to 60.
Yep.
And so now I'm like, dude, just keep
120. Here we come.
And like before we started talking, you know, I told you I was like, dude, I'm sucking right now. But this April, like just with everything I already have booked out, best month I'm gonna have. But it's primarily projects.
Yeah.
Which, you know, the market can dictate your business plan. I'm hard headed, so I'm letting it scare me a little bit, but it's okay. I just have to keep telling myself that I'm sucking, but like that's a big number. I'll crush it this month, and I just want to keep it. I want to be able to keep it going with the recurring. But as far as like where this business goes, I want to build Pensacola location up to $1 million plus. I think that's a good number for a lawn care company, like comfortably. And then I know you said you were against it, but I kind of want to look into maybe franchising it. Again, I think I got the brand to do it off the rip. And I kind of use this analogy, but, you know, Mike Andes has killed it with Augusta. I think they just hit like over 170 locations. They're close to doing 100 million worldwide. And it's because, one, he did it right, but two, he's the first to do that.
Yep.
That there is no other lawn care franchise.
Yep.
And so I use this analogy. I'm like, dude, if he's the founder of McDonald's for lawn care, I'll be Burger King all day.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I want it to go.
Yeah. That seems like to me, it seems harder.
It's what I don't know nothing about franchising. I will say that, but
yeah. It's a different business model.
I know it's completely different.
Yeah.
It's like not even, it's apples and oranges.
Yep.
Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to owning them all. That's so far away. I know that'll change 10 times between where I'm at now and me getting there.
Yeah.
But end goal, yeah.
Well, if you want to franchise, let me know. I know some people who have built some franchises, very successful ones.
Okay.
Yeah. Could probably learn a lot.
I may just ask them, like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Well, they may say yes if it's successful.
I think for these people, they're a little bit older and they already had money from other successful businesses. And they went in,
Just
like
money
they went in
making
from
money?
the beginning. The two people I'm thinking about went in the beginning starting a franchise and the reason was they said, look, I made my money. I want to make it easy. And so they're like, I don't care if it's not, because I think franchises, your margins are lower. Your net margins are lower.
If you're like the corporation or as the franchisee?
As the owner of the franchise. Not the local, but you own the whole thing.
The corporate.
Like Mike Andes.
The corporate
right?
entity. Yeah. They are.
Yep.
But it's one of those, like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't know if it would be to open and own 170 lawn care locations in the course. I think it's been like 10 years for him.
Yeah.
In the course of a decade, if you own them all. I just don't know if, like, physically you'd be able to have that much capital.
Yeah.
Whereas with the franchise, you literally, someone comes in, hey, I want to start it. Cool.
Yeah.
10,000. You're us now.
Yep.
So it makes it easier to expand and grow outwards.
It'd be an easy one to franchise too, because the initial investment doesn't have to be that big. Yeah.
Even for Augusta, if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, but I think his buy-in, he may have just raised it, but it's like 10 or 20,000, which, like, relatively speaking, super low.
Yeah.
And I know for him, he basically gives you everything. He gives you, like, they build your website, they take care of your incoming calls, they take care of your scheduling, invoicing. At least from what I understand, they take care of all that for you. The only thing you have to do is pay them the franchise fee, and then like buy your trucks and equipment and stuff. But then, like, they provide the marketing for you and all that. So.
Interesting.
I wish I would have found out. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. Even if I knew about it before I started my lawn care company, I think I'd still do my own thing.
I'd rather own the Grass Cowboys.
I think,
me personally,
admittedly, Grass Cowboys, I think it's a little cooler.
Dude, way cooler. It's a way cooler name. Well, cool, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
This was fun. Yeah. This is my first time ever on a podcast. I've talked to a few buddies about, like, starting one up, just the boys, you know, but then I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
It's a time commitment.
It is a time commitment. Yep. That's why we took a break for 6 months.
Even even like just today, which I'm in the middle of spring rush. So like I told you, I was like, dude, I was sweating it.
Hustling to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But circling all the way back in this 75 hard, I'm like trying to reprogram a little bit, you know? And one thing the like mandatory workouts has taught me, it's like, no, like I made this appointment, like I'm going to make it.
Yep.
I don't care what I have to do.
Yep.
I don't like if I would have had to have gone back out and worked after this or worked on a Saturday, but I wasn't going to miss it. I wasn't going to miss it.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for coming.
Thanks again, man.
Yep. See you, dude.
Later.